जय जय श्री चैतन्य जय नित्यानंद जय द्वैत चंद्र जय गौर भक्त वृंद जय जय श्री चैतन्य जय नित्यानंद जय द्वैत चंद्र जय गौर भक्त वृंद। ओम अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनच्छलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः तदा मह्यं ददाति सुपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरोः श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं सागरजातं सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनासहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेशा गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी शुभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वंशकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिंधुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्ण पृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमती विष्णुपादाय कृष्ण पृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमती भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी नामे नमस्ते। गौरवाणी प्रचारिणी निर्विशेष तम करोति वाचालं पद्ममलंघयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारिणं परमानंद माधवं श्री चैतन्य ईश्वरं। हरि ओम तत्सत्। हरे कृष्ण। So welcome back to this most purifying discussion of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. We are continuing our discussion on the chapter 17, which is the youthful pastimes of Lord Chaitanya. Today is the fifth installment of this chapter, and we are continuing this discussion roughly from the 65th verse. So I think briefly we discussed the next couple of verses, which is that Lord Chaitanya treated Advaitacharya with great respect. We discussed this, and how Advaitacharya had such a strong sentiment that I am the servant of Lord Chaitanya. He spiritually enjoyed taking that position of servant. And we have discussed this many times, how even though in the material world, being somebody's servant is considered a low position, from the spiritual perspective, everyone wants to be a servant of the original Supreme Personality of Godhead. Even the incarnations of the Lord want to take the position of servant. So even though Advaitacharya is Mahavishnu, he wants to be known not as Mahavishnu, but as servant of Lord Chaitanya. Ekale Ishvara Krishna Ara Sakala Bhrutya. And the interesting thing is, Krishna himself is so surprised by the pleasure that those who consider themselves as his servants enjoy, headed by Radharani, that he himself is tempted to come in the role of a servant so that he can also experience the glory of servitude, so that he can taste himself and experience that nectar which he himself is bereft of, unless he takes on that mood. So it's such a very beautiful concept. So Advaitacharya wanted Lord Chaitanya to accept him. Advaitacharya and Ishvara Puri, the spiritual master of Lord Chaitanya, were both god brothers. And that's why Lord Chaitanya would always respect Advaitacharya like his guru. He would offer him obeisances, but Advaitacharya would never like it. And we discussed it in brief, how he started preaching the Mayavad philosophy by giving discourses on Yoga Vasishtha. And very enthusiastically, he would speak impersonal philosophy, especially when he would see that Lord Chaitanya is within hearing range. Because he wanted to provoke him. When Lord Chaitanya heard, and this also we discussed, he became so upset that he dragged Advaitacharya from his asan, started beating him up. And Advaitacharya was laughing. Advaitacharya said, "Oh, all this while you are saying, I'm like your guru, I'm like your guru. Now how come, you are chastising me and you're beating me up? Now where is your respect for me? Now you have accepted me as your servant. Because this kind of a punishment and chastisement one will give only to a subordinate, to one servant. One will never give to one superior. So by doing this, you have actually accepted me as your servant." Very interesting. That you have accepted me as your servant. And the Lord realized that he had been tricked and he became shy. So we learn from this pastime how it is so glorious to aspire for this position of a servant of the Lord, position of the servant of the servant of the Lord. And the important thing to notice also, to note in this particular pastime is also that even the Lord's punishment, when a devotee is directly punished by Krishna, is also a mark of the Lord's affection. Like Advaitacharya was not glorified, he was chastised. But he said, "Yes, that means you accept me as your servant." So a devotee also has this consciousness. Maro bhi rakho bhi jo ichha tomar, nitya dasa prati tu adhikar. You may reward me or you may punish me. Even your punishment is your mercy, because everything you do, O Lord, is for my good. Even your punishment is not out of, like we punish others sometimes when we become frustrated, we are angry, sometimes out of envy and all kinds of reasons. The Lord both rewards and punishes out of love. So if somebody is the recipient of the Lord's love, that means the Lord is showing favor, even though it may be punishment. So the devotee is not too worried whether he is receiving reward or punishment. Of course, in one sense, if there is punishment, then of course the devotee is expected to self-introspect and improve. But at the same time, he is still happy that he is the recipient of the Lord's mercy. Because the Lord's punishment is also the Lord's mercy. What this means? That means that the Lord is accepting you as a servant and making a direct effort to correct you. So those who are understanding the devotional science, they welcome both the Lord's reward and the Lord's punishment. What they don't want or what they really fear is the Lord's neglect. If the Lord neglects me, my God, that will be very dangerous. That is the real disaster. It is better to be punished by the Lord, because that means that the Lord is still concerned and affectionate rather than the Lord's neglect. Because when the Lord neglects, it's like the Lord giving up on that particular individual. Taking that individual out from his personal care and handing back to Maya. Maya, you deal with this person. This case I am handing back to you. Those who are dear devotees to Krishna, even though they may not be very advanced, when they are sincere, Krishna takes the file in his own hand and he will make sure everything that happens in the life of the devotee is screened by him. Even though karma may have ordained something, Krishna puts his own filter in before it is dispensed, so that he decides whether this should be delivered or not delivered and whether it needs any adjustment. So, of course, it's best to receive always the Lord's merciful glance. But if not that, it is also okay to receive the Lord's punishment and anger. But we do not want the Lord's indifference or neglect. So Advaita Acharya is saying, see, you are beating me, you are punishing me. That means you are still affectionate when you are accepting me as your servant. Otherwise, where in this world, so many people make mistakes. Do we just simply go and, whack them, beat them up, scold them? We will do so only for our near and dear ones, and especially for those whom we are responsible for, isn't it? Just because we see a child making a mistake doesn't mean that we just go always and start correcting and shouting and whacking them. Don't do that. Anyway, so this is a very sweet pastime. And why we should remember this is that we should try to develop this consciousness that everything that comes from the Lord is His mercy. And then we should be happy. We don't want to create a situation. If we are very offensive to the Lord or His devotees, then there may come a situation where the Lord neglects. And then that will be very unfortunate situation for us. Then there is a mention of another devotee whose name is Murari Gupta. This Murari Gupta was a childhood friend of Lord Chaitanya, living in the same vicinity. Murari Gupta was a Ayurvedic physician by profession, doctor, Vaidya, or what we call as Vaidya. But he had a very special characteristic. Even though he was in the association of all these devotees of Krishna, Murari Gupta had a very, very, very special attachment to Lord Ramchandra. Very strong attachment. And there are some other pastimes related to this which come later in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. But here there's a brief mention. And he would always be chanting the glories of Ram. And Lord Chaitanya was so happy because he was so devoted to Ramchandra. That one day, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wrote on his forehead the alphabets Ram Das. Murari Gupta, you are the eternal servant of Ram. Now, even though it is not mentioned here, this particular verse in this particular chapter, actually Murari Gupta is an incarnation of Hanumanji. And that is why he had, even though he appeared in Mahaprabhu's pastime, he had such intense attachment for Ramchandra. Elsewhere it is mentioned how Mahaprabhu asked him to chant the name of Krishna, but he said, I cannot, I can only chant Ram's name. I have so much attachment to Ram. So, of course, while as Gaudiya Vaishnavas, for us, our highest worshipable object is Radha Krishna, by Mahaprabhu's own example, we don't, if somebody naturally has affinity for another form of the Lord, Ramchandra, Simhadev, then we do not, try to belittle or criticize them. Some devotees have, even within ISKCON also, some devotees have some special affection. And possibly, because we may not know at this stage for sure, possibly that may be what their eternal relationship the Lord is in the spiritual world, that particular form. So it is said that in another pastime, there are various individual pastimes which are being mentioned in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. So this is not a chronological or a linked set of events. These are different pastimes which have happened. So I'm narrating them as they are appearing in this chapter. So it says one day Lord Chaitanya went to the house of Sridhar Kholavich. So it is said that this particular pastime actually happened when the Lord, after performing Nagar Sankirtan, there's this very elaborate pastime of Chand Kazi, which we'll be discussing in great detail later in this chapter, where the Lord converted a Muslim Qazi into a Vaishnav devotee after having a debate. So that's a very, very interesting episode. That is a very significant pastime from Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Lila, because that is the first time Lord Chaitanya demonstrated what we call as the civil disobedience. So after the Lord took a Sankirtan procession, then he converted the Qazi. It is said Chaitanya Mahaprabhu returned with his Sankirtan party back. He was heading back towards his home with Chand Kazi following him. And on the way, he came to the house of Sridhar Kholavich. So when he came there, all the devotees rested at that particular place. That particular place is still recorded as Kirtana Vishramasthan. Is there in Navadvip, where the Lord and the Kirtan party rested. And at that time, when he came near the house of Sridhar Kholavich, it is said that Sridhar Kholavich carried, amongst his very few possessions, there was an iron pot. And we have briefly discussed this earlier. It was so old. Pot means, what we call in Hindi as lota. There was a lota, metal lota, severely dented, discolored, very old one, because that was the only thing he had, which he would use for his bathing, for his washing, for his cooking, because he had nothing else. And from that damaged water pot, the Lord took and drank water because they were resting there. And he encouraged all other devotees also to drink. So the Lord showed by his own example that the Lord always is very happy to accept even the remnants of his pure devotees. This is very amazing. The Lord doesn't hesitate to accept the remnants of those things which are connected to the devotees. This is a very, very, very interesting thing to note about the nature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. From this, and there are so many other pastimes we do not have time to discuss. But we see this consistently in the nature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, that just like we respect the paraphernalia of the Lord respects and honors not just the devotee, but things connected to the devotee. This is very amazing. And the interesting thing is, and this is mentioned many places in the scriptures, the Lord extends his love and protection not just to the devotee, but everybody who's dear to the devotee. Also, the Lord extends his special mercy and compassion. That's very interesting. So, if somebody becomes dear to a devotee, he also becomes dear to the Lord, even though that person may or may not be a devotee. Interesting. At one place, this is not mentioned here, but in another place in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Lord Chaitanya says, even the dog in the house of Srivas Thakur is dear to me. Even the dog. Of course, not that Srivas Thakur was, keeping pet dogs like, we keep dogs with a patta, like that. That is not typically part of the Brahmanical culture. But, sometimes in a neighborhood, there are some dogs which are, hanging around the house, and they are like informal pets. They happen to come there and the householder feeds them something, and they will come regularly, and they are fed like that. So even the dog is dear to me. What to speak of anybody else? So amazing. So it is said that the Lord displayed. So this is both the Lord's love and also the Lord's renunciation. And there are many, many, many such very beautiful examples. of how the Lord is so very affectionate to his devotees, amazingly affectionate to his devotees. The Lord really, really enjoys, and Prabhupada mentions this elsewhere, that the Lord loves to take a lower position in front of his pure devotees. He enjoys that. Very amazing. Anyway, so this is one very beautiful pastime of drinking from the pot of Sridhar Kholavech. In case you have forgotten who Sridhar Kholavech is the banana leaf seller whom we discussed about recently. If you have forgotten altogether, then I suggest you go back and listen to the recordings. So after this incident, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says that the Lord blessed Haridas Thakur. Haridas Thakur is a very great devotee. We spoke about Haridas Thakur and Nityanand Prabhu as the lead preachers of Lord Chaitanya, Bengal. And Haridas Thakur is very, very special. So Haridas Thakur, Mahaprabhu would glorify him so much. Haridas Thakur was very, very attached to the holy name because he's glorified as a Namacharya. He would chant 192 rounds of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra every day. He would not have any food without completing his japa. Not 19.2, 192 rounds. Which means 22 hours he would chant, 2 hours he will sleep, again he'll wake up and he'll chant. And Mahaprabhu would come from the temple of Jagannath carrying some Mahaprasad of Jagannath and give to him. And he said, no, I have not completed my round, I cannot take. And in spite of this, he would say, oh, you see, I cannot complete, I am struggling, I am this, I am that. That was... Anyway, so he's considered an incarnation of Prahlad Maharaj. He had extraordinary tolerance. There are some beautiful pastimes of his tolerance. Titiksha, which we'll discuss later in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. He's also an incarnation of Lord Brahma. We discussed this earlier. So he's a combined incarnation of Prahlad Maharaj and Lord Brahma. Mahaprabhu would always be very happy to see him and would glorify him. Also, we had mentioned about how Sachi Mata had committed an offense to the lotus feet of Advaita Acharya. We discussed this a couple of classes ago. So Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami also mentions after this particular episode, the Lord also arranged for the offense of Sachi Mata to be removed. So just to refresh your memory, after Vishwarup, who's the elder brother of Lord Chaitanya, he took sannyas. Sachi Mata was blaming Advaita Acharya for his taking sannyas. So he is the one who has convinced him. He's the one who has convinced him. And that's why she said this. Advaita is Dvaita. He's the duplicitous person. Because he, caused my elder son to take sannyas. That way she committed offense. And Lord Chaitanya said, because she offended a pure devotee, I will not give her mercy. So anyway, so this passage is not described here in detail, but as we have briefly indicated earlier, at one point when Advaita Acharya was rolling in ecstasy on the dust, Sachi Mata took the opportunity to touch his feet and take the dust of his feet on her head. Mahaprabhu said that is the only way in which the offense will be nullified. And that way the offense was nullified. And the Lord again became pleased with Sachi Mata. So that's another pastime. So again, we discussed this in great detail earlier also. Mahaprabhu is very particular that if one wants to achieve Krishna Prem very quickly, then two things one should do. Anybody remembers? What are the two things to be very careful about?
Not to commit Vaishnava Aparadh.
Okay, that is one. And what is the second?
Don't remember the other, Prabhuji.
The other one is the do, which is chant the holy names. So if you chant the holy names, chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. He who chants the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra regularly and does not criticize the devotees, very soon will achieve Krishna's favor. There's a very explicit verse in this regard, Chaitanya Charitamrita. So another pastime is mentioned. Lord Chaitanya would, to his students, as he was teaching, he would teach grammar and he would teach so many things. And after he manifested his Lila as a devotee, he would speak nothing but Krishna. Even for his teaching, he would somehow insert Krishna into everything. Grammar also, he will speak about Krishna. So once Lord Chaitanya was explaining the glories of the holy name, and some of his students were there who were not devotees, they didn't quite appreciate. And they were trying to, he was speaking about the glories of the holy name, and these students, this particular student or the students, they were interpreting and they were telling that, oh, actually, these glories of the holy name, oh, just once chanting the holy name, all karma is destroyed. Oh, these are all exaggerations. It's not actually real. This is just to encourage people to chant Hare Krishna. This is how people also think. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu became very upset when a student spoke like this. And he immediately warned everyone, henceforth nobody should see this student because he's committing Nam Aparad. He's calling the glories of the holy name to be an exaggeration, which is one of the 10 offenses against the holy name. And also another offense is to give a mundane interpretation of the holy name of the Lord. So he's committing all these offenses. So ban. Ban in the sense, we don't want to associate with you because you are sincere. And it is said, after doing that, the Lord, thinking that I need to be purified because I associated with such a person, with his clothes on, he went and jumped into the Ganges. After taking his bath in the Ganges, the Lord gave a brief lecture where he explained the glories of devotional service. And the Lord said that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, cannot be satisfied by karma, yoga, or jnana. Speculative knowledge, mystic yoga, or fruitive activity cannot actually satisfy the Supreme Lord. Even control of the senses, it doesn't satisfy the Lord. The Lord is truly satisfied and happy only by unalloyed bhakti, ananya bhakti. And he quotes a particular verse from the Srimad Bhagavat where Krishna is talking to Uddhava. And the verse goes like this. Krishna is speaking to Uddhava. My dear Uddhava, neither through Ashtanga Yoga, nor through impersonal monism, or through analytical study of the absolute truth, nor through study of the Vedas, nor through austerities or charity or acceptance of sannyas, can one satisfy me, as much as by developing unalloyed devotional service to me. That is the sure and only confirmed way. Please the Lord. It is said after the Lord spoke like this, I think Murari Gupta, this great devotee whom we spoke about just a couple of minutes earlier, Lord Chaitanya looked at him and he started praising Murari Gupta by saying, oh, you have satisfied Lord Krishna. Because he had unalloyed devotions. You have satisfied. And Murari Gupta was so humble. Even though he is Hanuman, really think of himself as a devotee of any great standard. And Murari Gupta immediately replied to Lord Chaitanya by quoting another verse from the Srimad Bhagavad. Which verse he quoted? He quoted the verse which Sudama Vipra, the Sudama Brahman, he spoke to Krishna in Dwarka after Krishna embraced Sudama. Sudama, he went to Dwarka after being insisted to go by his wife, but he never really had any expectations from the Lord and thought of himself as very lowly. But he was so surprised that the Lord so affectionately embraced Sudama when Sudama came to Dwarka. Sudama was so pleasantly surprised and he felt so unqualified. Sudama says, and Murari Gupta is quoting this verse in quotes, Sudama saying to Krishna, since I am but a poor, sinful Brahma Bandhu, Sudama describes himself as Brahma Bandhu. Brahma Bandhu means I'm not even a Brahman, I'm just a relative of a Brahman. Actually, he's a very qualified Brahman, but he's describing himself, I'm just a relative of a Brahman. Since I am but a poor, sinful relative of Brahman, not Brahmanically qualified, although born in a Brahman family, and you, Lord Krishna, you are the husband of the goddess of fortune. It is so wonderful, my dear Lord Krishna, that you have embraced me with your arms. The devotees of the Lord are forever surprised. How come the Lord is so affectionate? I am so insignificant. This is always a topic of amazement for devotees. And the devotees don't think, oh, I'm actually such a great devotee. Yeah, Krishna comes and, he embraces me. Yeah, this happens. Yeah. They don't go and boast and think like that. They're feeling, I'm so unqualified. Krishna is the husband of the goddess of fortune. She is massaging his feet. He doesn't need me. There's no purpose for him to serve. Still so affectionately he embraced me, even though I have no qualification. Sudama is glorifying Krishna like that. And Murari Gupta is quoting this verse when Lord Chaitanya is glorifying him by comparing his position to that of Sudama, trying to say that actually I am also totally unqualified. If the Lord is pleased with me, it is because of this wonderful nature of the Lord. So you see such a very beautiful, pleasing interaction of love and service between the Lord and his devotees. It is very, very sweet. The devotee always wants to serve the Lord, and the Lord takes great pleasure in taking care of the devotee and also at times directly serving the devotee. And the devotee always feels so unqualified for receiving this kind of special attention and mercy from the Lord. One more interesting pastime. This is also a very sweet pastime. One day when the Lord and the devotees were performing Sankirtan, after dancing and dancing and dancing together for a long time, they became very tired. And everyone was tired and thirsty and they were so famished because of dancing and dancing. Lord Chaitanya, when he would start dancing and he would get into a mood of ecstasy, he would practically not stop. On and on and on. Finally, he realized everybody is so fatigued that the Lord finally stopped. The Lord went into a garden and he asked all the devotees to sit down there. And the Lord was thinking how the devotees are so tired and how to remove their fatigue. The Lord saw one mango seed lying down in that garden. The mango seed. After you eat the mango, the central seed, which means dry seed. So he just picked up that seed and he pushed it into the ground with his own hands in that particular garden. Something really amazing and magical, miraculous thing happened. He put that dried mango seed into the ground And when he pushed it in, immediately a mango sapling came out. Instantly. No watering, no waiting, no days of gardening. Immediately a mango sapling. It came out and it grew. Within seconds, in front of their eyes of all the devotees, it grew into a huge mango tree, and hundreds of ripe mangoes appeared on that tree instantly. All the devotees were stunned. What is this? This is like fast forward. 5 years, 10 years. Full mango tree growing mango. And being laden with huge, luscious mangoes. Everyone was struck with wonder. And the Lord got up and he started picking up, or rather plucking out the fruits from the mango tree. About 200 fruits, Chaitanya Charitamrita says, he plucked. And then he washed those fruits. Then he offered it to Krishna. And after the Lord had eaten, it is said, Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami says, he describes the mango. He says the mangoes, they were huge in size. They were reddish and yellow in color. This is how the ripe Alfonso mango looks. Reddish and yellow in color. And they were sweet like nectar. And it had two special characteristics. What were they? One, the mango had no seed. Every mango had no seed. And second, it had no skin to cover it. It was a ripe mango directly from the tree, which had no seed, no skin. Means fully ready to eat as it is. And each of the mango was so sweet and so nourishing and so filling that even if one person ate just one mango, it would fully satisfy him and his belly would be full. Nobody could even eat more than one. It was so wonderful. And the Lord, he ate the fruit first himself, then after offering it to Krishna. And then the Lord started distributing these mangoes to all the devotees. And the devotees were relishing that mango, enjoying eating that mango in the company of the Lord. It was like the Lord sitting with all the gopas and, having a feast in this beautiful garden. This garden has later, because of this pastime, become famous as the Amra Ghat or Am Ghat. I have been to this place. There are many mango trees now. I think the original one is not around. Perhaps the Lord didn't want. But it is said that for 1 year from that day onwards, every day after doing kirtan, the Lord and all the devotees would come back to this mango tree, and the mango tree would be laden again with mangoes of same type. No seed, no skin. And every day for 1 year, there was mango party. Every day after kirtan. So wonderful. So one day when we enter the Lord's eternal pastimes, hopefully we can also taste this special mango. Until then, we have to eat. If you are in India, Alfonso. If you are in Malaysia, whatever is available here. Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami says these are all the confidential pastimes of the son of Mother Sachi. And only devotees are aware of these pastimes. Nobody else even knew about this episode. Nobody else was even aware. Then it is said another few pastimes of the Lord Sankirtan. It says one day the Lord was doing Sankirtan with the devotees. And as he was doing Sankirtan and they were having a wonderful time, suddenly the clouds gathered in the sky. And they were rumbling and it seemed as if now it is going to rain very heavily. the Lord was in no mood to stop his kirtan. So it is said that the Lord looked at the clouds and made signs to them and started playing on the kartal. And through that, he indicated to the devatas that please, this is no disturbance for my kirtan. Please remove all this. No rains to be delivered now. So said the devatas, immediately moved the clouds away. And there was no rain pouring. Another day, also a very beautiful pastime happened. This particular pastime happened with Srivas Thakur. So it is said that Srivas Thakur on that particular day was performing the Shraddha ceremony for his father. And as a part of the Shraddha ceremony, it is customary to read the Vishnu Sahasranam, the Mahabharata, 1,000 names of Vishnu, the very famous Vishnu Sahasranam. So as that was going on in the house of Srivas Thakur, Lord Gaurhari, Lord Chaitanya came there on the scene. And he also sat down and he was also hearing the Vishnu Sahasranam, and the Lord was enjoying to his full satisfaction hearing the Vishnu Sahasranam. So something very interesting happened. So as the Lord was hearing, see, Lord Chaitanya was very unpredictable. Unpredictable in the sense that the Lord would suddenly go into some devotional mood, being prompted by something. It was so unpredictable, you would never know. So this is one such episode. So as the names were being chanted, one of the names that was chanted of Lord Chaitanya, of Lord Vishnu, from the Vishnu Sahasranam is that of Lord Narasimha. So when Lord Chaitanya heard the name of Lord Narasimha, Lord Chaitanya became absorbed in the thought of Lord Narasimhadev. And when the Lord becomes absorbed, because all the incarnations are within the transcendental form of Krishna, correct? All incarnations are actually coming from Krishna. They are all inside Krishna. The Lord suddenly switched into the mood of Narasimha, because Narasimha is in him. Suddenly switched to the mood of Narasimha, suddenly in the house of Srivas Thakur. This was very unusual. And the mood of Narasimha means angry. The Lord's eyes became red with anger. He was showing anger and his bodily hairs were standing on end. His eyes were red. His body was trembling with anger. He was making a thundering sound, and then he started looking around and he saw that there was something like a mace kept nearby. He took that mace in his hand, acting like Lord Narasimha, and he started looking around. Where are the demons? Where are the demons? Like that. Because Narasimha Dev is the form of the Lord who protects the devotees by destroying the demons. All the people who were gathered there, they became afraid. Some of them started running here and there. They were thinking, oh, what kind of offense we have committed? So the Lord, in that mood of Narasimha, ran around here and there, and when finally he realized that his mood of Narasimha is actually creating a disturbance to others, somehow controlled himself and he came back to the sober mood of Lord Chaitanya. And he kept that club away and he came and told Srivas, I'm sorry, I created a disturbance. It is actually an offense to create a disturbance for people in general. So, I went into a different mood. So, now I'm okay. I will now sit down and continue to hear your Vishnu Sahasranam. So this was also a very sweet pastime like that. And Srivas Thakur was not all disturbed. He said, oh Lord, we are actually so fortunate. We all got to see this divine form of this divine mood, Avesha. Avesh means when one becomes permeated by the mood of a different personality. Means that another personality takes charge. He becomes avesha. He becomes almost like taken over, possessed. Possessed not in a negative sense, but possessed by that personality is known as avesha. He had like the avesha of Narsingh. Srivas Thakur said, oh, we are so fortunate. Actually, O Lord, if somebody even takes your name, holy name, his millions of offenses are vanquished. So when you are taking the form of Narsingh and you are running after living entity, any man who saw you in that kind of form, he is liberated from material bondage. You are not causing anybody any inconvenience or harm. You are actually giving the greatest benediction by giving this darshan of this mood of yours to all these people. So Lord, don't worry. Please come back. Let us continue our. So that way they went back and they continued. Another day, also a similar Avesha pastime, slightly different, but something similar. There was a great devotee of Lord Shiva, and he was reciting the divine qualities of Lord Shiva. He came to the house of Lord Chaitanya, and he was singing. He had a damru in his hand, and he was playing, and he was singing. And he was a very pure-hearted soul, a very sincere, genuine devotee of Lord Shiva. And it is said that he came in the courtyard of Lord Chaitanya, and in that particular house, he started dancing, playing the damru. So Lord Chaitanya is in his home, and this Shiva devotee comes in his courtyard and he is dancing, holding a damru. And when Lord Chaitanya saw this person glorifying Lord Shiva, praying to Lord Shiva and singing that mood, because Shiva is also an expansion coming from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Suddenly Lord Chaitanya went into the mood of Lord Shiva. And what he did? He became so excited and got into the mood of Lord Shiva. He climbed onto the shoulders of this man. And sitting on the shoulders of this man, Lord Chaitanya started dancing. This man was dancing and Lord Chaitanya was dancing on his shoulders. It is said they danced together for a long, long time. So in that way, the Lord also displayed this mood where he took on the mood of Lord Shiva. It is said on another day, another mendicant came to ask for some alms, Diksha, to the house of Lord Chaitanya. Because Lord Chaitanya is a grahast, the Lord would give charity to those who would come to seek charity. But when he came to the Lord's house, he came for Madhukari, but he saw that the Lord was dancing in Kirtan there. So when this particular bhikshu, he saw the Lord dancing, he also started dancing in the house. Just by seeing the dancing of the Lord, this particular person got so influenced, he started dancing. And by the mercy of the Lord, he developed Krishna Prem simply by seeing the dancing of Lord Chaitanya and also emulating that dancing. He was favored by the Lord and he also developed Krishna Prem. His tears were coming from his eyes. So I'm going to stop here. We are at verse 102. It is 9:56. There's another pastime which is slightly long, so I don't want to start there. So we'll continue from 103 in the next class, where the divine youthful pastimes of Lord Chaitanya will continue. This is the 5th part of the 17th chapter. And we have roughly completed slightly less than 1/3 the chapter. So that is, I think this is the longest longest time I've spent on any chapter anywhere. 5 parts and barely 1/3 of the chapter we have done. Anyway, so it's so sweet and so wonderful. So some of these pastimes are from Chaitanya Bhagavat. Some of these pastimes are discussed in great detail in Chaitanya Mangal by Lochan Das Thakur. So I will give a pause to my narration now, and anybody who wants to ask anything, or share anything, you're all welcome. Wonderful. So you're all fully satisfied. I think you're lost in the thoughts of the mango, I think, like myself. No questions.
Yes, Prabhu.
The mango. Huh?
I'm thinking about the mango.
Yes, I think only you and me are thinking of the mango because we are foodies. All others are gone into philosophical mood.
Okay.
It is so sweet to have this kind of wonderful interactions with the Lord. The perfection for the soul is to have these kind of very sweet interactions with the Supreme Personality of God. Once Srila Prabhupada was asked by his disciples, and he answered that very sweetly. He shared a very sweet insight. He said, the only reason I want to go back home, back to Godhead, is because I want to go and see what Mother Yashoda has packed for Krishna in his lunchbox. Because this used to be the curiosity of the cowherd boys. So when the cowherd boys would go to take the cows and the cows so grazing in the pastures, each of the cowherd boys would have their mothers pack them some lunch. They would all get together and share and eat it. And Krishna would also pack and bring, and everybody would be curious. What Mother Yashoda has packed for Krishna. Because Radharani would also cook. Mother Yashoda would also cook. All that would be packed. Everyone wanted to taste from Krishna's lunchbox, and everybody wanted to feed Krishna from their lunchbox. And Krishna was eager to eat from everybody's lunchbox. And they would have a gala party every day. So in that mood, Prabhupada spoke like that. So it is bona fide to want to eat this mango. No problem. Okay, so if there is nothing else.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. I just want to clarify one point, Prabhu.
Yeah, go ahead.
Prabhu, I thought in the what is that spiritual world, as far as Krishna is concerned, he is there, not in the baby form, isn't it? He is already about 16 years old. Then you were telling about the lunch box and all. So how do I
in the eternal Lila, Krishna is around 15 years old. The Nitya Lila. In the eternal pastimes, Krishna is in the Kaishora age, which is 50, where he's herding the cows. He's not in a baby form. So this lunch box doesn't mean like a tiffin of KG students.
Okay.
The lunch box.
Okay.
So when they go out for herding cows, they have breakfast in the morning. One day, if we get time, we will discuss Krishna's full daily routine in brief. It's very, very detailed. But in brief, one day we can discuss, maybe after we complete CC.
Thanks.
But after eating breakfast, which Radharani and Mother Yashoda cooks, lunch is packed. And lunch is given because after breakfast, they will leave along with the cows to herd the cows. They come back only in the evening. They don't come back for lunch. So lunch is in the forest. So it is always a forest picnic. So in the forest, they will, as the cows are pasturing, all the cowherd boys along with Krishna will have lots of fun. They will play games and, all kinds of things they'll do. They'll sing songs and swim and wrestle and do pranks, have their lunch together and share it, and all kinds of fun they will have. And they will eat their lunch together every day. So that is how the lunch box comes into picture.
Okay,
so
Prabhu,
it happens eternally in the spiritual world, every day.
Even Prabhuji, it is said that Radharani still cooks for Lord.
What do you mean still cooks?
She every day bhog for Lord Krishna.
Yeah,
I have
eternally it
heard.
is going on. No, of course she's eternally cooking for the Lord. But when you say now she's cooking, in the sense,
No,
what do you
no,
mean
no.
now?
Every day.
She's cooking. She was cooking. She is cooking. She will continue to cook. So this is an eternal Lila of Goloka Vrindavan, right? So of course, when the Lord appears on this earth for some time, the Lila is displayed to us. But the Lila only disappears from our vision. But eternally, the Lila is continuing. Even in this Vrindavan, the Lila is continuing. You cannot see it. And of course, in Goloka, the Lila is continuing. So Radharani, that is her eternal service. She's the best cook. She's the best cook. And Krishna enjoys. Anyway, it's a very, very beautiful pastime. One day we'll discuss all these things in detail. The Acharyas have described these things in great detail, and they are so sweet and so wonderful. How Krishna eats, how Radharani cooks, how Krishna eats. They're very beautiful interactions. So this is what the devotees aspire, this kind of loving exchange with the Lord. And this pleasure of this kind of a loving exchange with the Lord is so many times more blissful than even liberation, than even being in the heavenly planets, than even having all the mystic siddhis. Wonderful. Anything else? Anyone? Okay, so today is Wednesday, so we will continue our Bhagavatam on Saturday at the regular time. And no other announcement from my side. There is Ekadashi is in the following week, next Friday, not this week. So anyway, we'll remind you again when we come closer to that.
It's on 17th Friday.
Yeah, it's on 17th Friday. Okay, Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita ki jai, Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Samaveta Gaura Bhakta.
Jai.
Thank you. Hare
Thank you
Krishna,
very
Prabhu.
much. Hari
Thank you.
Bol.
Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna,
Thank
Prabhu.
you.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.